Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Marco and I speak about relationship between men and women and of course these topics that touch all of our lives. And before I start with the meat of the video, please like and subscribe for future videos, for support for my work, and I hope you find what you search for in this or other videos I make. So I changed it up a bit from my previous videos. I found a story on Reddit that touches on one of the topics I talked about in a previous video, and well, let's dive into it. So the story goes as follows. My 29-year-old male's partner, 30-year-old female, goes on food strikes if I make her upset and refuses to eat, tells me it's my fault. What do I do? So I was immediately attracted by this title because it's such an obvious form of emotional blackmail. I mean, just the title says everything, even if it's an extreme case of emotional blackmail. If you don't know, you don't do what I want, I'm going to starve myself to death, or just starve myself in general, which is rather extreme if you ask me. My partner has gone on what my friends have deemed as food strikes. If plans change and she gets upset, she is very focused around eating together as much as possible. Part of it is because she wants me to pay for her food, I think. Recently, I had told her I'd come over to her house after work. It takes me about an hour to get to her place with traffic. We already spent 30 to 50% of nights together, for context as well. Unfortunately, when I told her that I had forgotten that I also had a family dinner, which was only 5 minutes from work at my sister's place, I called her and told her the situation and that she was welcome to come and that I was sorry I had double booked. She blew up on me and refused to come, which I kind of understood since there was traffic, but I also drove to her place 99% of the time as is. I tried being calm and telling her I could come over after, but she was very upset. Now, for anyone who had any thought put into relationship or situations like that happen. I mean, it's pretty normal. We confuse our calendars. It happened to me several times. I know many people who had that experience either as well. And it's, I mean, just blowing up, screaming and threatening and crying about it. I mean, there's just no point. Things like that happen. So just this few sentences alone put that relationship on a shaky ground simply because of that overreaction about double booking. I mean, usually you just say, look, sorry, I screwed up. Can we meet tomorrow? Or you can join us, as he said. But all right, let's continue. It gets more intense in the terms of that relationship, at least. After a bit, I told her I'm just gonna head over to my family's and would talk to her later. During the time at my family's, she called me 10 times and sent dozens of messages. Just one little thing to add here. If you're ever in a situation when you want to call someone, especially your partner, multiple times in a short time period and send many, many messages, don't do it. Do it once, do it twice, then just don't. I mean, you only have two options. They can't answer. There are three options. They can't or they don't want to answer. And in both cases, they will call you back later or you'll hear about it when they come back home. Or a third option, they were in an accident and they can't answer, in which case you'll be informed by some health official or policeman or something, or relatives. So eventually I answered the phone and she was going off on how she expected me to be there to feed her and I was neglecting her and how it's my fault that she's gonna starve. Sounds like my pet. If I don't feed my dog, he doesn't get anything to eat, he starves. But usually you'd expect an adult 30-year-old human, no matter the gender or sex, to be capable of feeding him or herself. Okay. Am I crazy, or is this behavior incredibly manipulative? This is not the last time this happened. And am I the problem for double booking and choosing to go see my family for dinner? So I think the patterns of emotional blackmail are highly apparent here. You can't really see it as in any other way. And in the comments, that writer later explains that he was just recovering from a previous very abusive relationship, and he fell into this woman's grip later, and his standards of normalcy were a bit off. So that was his problem. But for us as spectators who can't really fix the situation, it's an apparent pattern of emotional blackmail. If you do not do what I want, I will punish you in ways that will induce guilt. I will suffer because of you. I will die because of you. I will starve myself because of you. I am humiliated because of whatever you've done or something. And it's always about inducing guilt, pressure, self-loathing, shame. And they use those emotions to get you to do what they want. And the thing about blackmail patterns is that the blackmailer usually just does not know how to function in a different way. It's not because they're evil. They're simply came, or usually they come from an environment where they were raised through emotional blackmail. And consequently, that is the way they were taught as little children to communicate, and it works. So if something isn't broken, you don't fix it, right? The pattern works. And so they keep blackmailing you. And the thing is, if you manage to break that pattern, it's not just you'll be much happier because you'll be free of all that oppression and force, but it's also the person who usually, or who previously emotionally blackmail you, will be much happier because they will be free of that forced pattern. You can build a true, healthy, and much more fulfilling relationship with that person. We had a similar situation with me and my wife, and she started with emotional blackmail. In her case, she wasn't happy with me for whatever reason, and usually wasn't even my fault. She would not talk to me for hours on end and just ignored me. And I really disliked those silences. But the way I fixed it, instead of buckling under that pressure and begging for her attention, I mean, okay, let's be honest, I did it a few times. What's wrong? Please talk to me, explain. And then I realized it just didn't work. There was no sense. And every time I did that, I felt humiliated and somehow less than I was. So what I did instead, I grabbed a book, sat beside her on the couch and said, with a deep exhalation and rather loudly, finally some peace and quiet for my reading time. And I did that once, maybe twice, and she never did those silences again. I regretted it a bit at times, but in general, it's much more comfortable in our marriage nowadays. She basically, in a matter of a month or two, completely stopped any forms of emotional blackmail, simply because I would not cater to it. Every single time she started with it, we drowned it in the onset. Never happened again. And this is my warm suggestion for all those who are exposed to emotional blackmail. And I know there are many of you who are emotionally blackmailed or are emotional blackmailers. It's practically, I don't think there is any person alive who did not experience that at one point or another. So the best way to break the cycle is simply daring the person to do what they threaten you to do. You want to starve to death? Go right ahead. You want to kill yourself? I can't stop you. Because a person who wants to hurt him or herself or terminate his life will do it without you threatening you with it. When they threaten you with something, it's simply calling for your attention, not a really honest threat. Those who want to do it, do it. They don't talk about it. They don't want to be stopped from doing it. So a little bit about emotional blackmail. There's also a video about it. I will link the video in the description below. And I wish you a wonderful day, a wonderful blackmail-free life, and till next time.